It is Thursday night. Do we know where our Cliff is at? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
He's not here. That's all you need to know.
All
Okay,
right.
that's all y'all need to know. He ain't here.
No, but those old school PSAs. It is now 10:30. Do you know where your children are?
Oh, when I was a kid, it was 9 o'clock. It was 9 and 10. It would go, it's 9 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
When I was
And
growing
that
up, it
meant
was
you had to
10:30.
call in your middle schoolers.
Mhm.
And then they said it was 10 o'clock. Then you had to, you had to send somebody out to run around, usually your middle schooler, to find out where your high schooler
Mhm.
was. And hopefully, unless it was a Saturday night, a Friday or a Saturday night, and you knew you weren't going to see them before 2 a.m.
Mhm.
Because if it was summer, there were parties or what we used to call sets and whatnot. So people would
But
go
w-
dancing and whatnot.
we're saying that because he will be missed today because we are
Yes,
talking
we're gonna
about
miss you,
how
Cliff.
wars are getting constantly changed here. And I thought he would be interested in what I thought in the first two issues of Planet She-Hulk.
Oh, okay.
So he gets to watch the replay. Shame on him.
Oh,
I
not
know. I know
shame.
the real reason why he's not here. So that's the reason I get to play around like that. To say shame on
Okay.
him.
Okay. Well, I have an announcement.
Mhm.
Now, this primarily applies to people in the state of Illinois. For those of you who do not live in the state of Illinois and you didn't see my post on Facebook, yes, you can find me on the Facebook. I would say check with the city you live in, the state, to see if they have a similar program that can be helping, because we are coming up within a month. The children will be going back to school. And hopefully by now, the school has sent you a list of all the stuff you got to get. And to help with that, here in the state of Illinois, they are instituting the back to school sales tax reduction. This is a program that is going to last from the 7th of this month through the 16th. So between August 7th and 16th. After the 16th, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, what they're doing, they are dropping the sales tax on specific school items at specific stores from 6.25% to 1.25%. That's a 5%. Well, actually, that's more like a 90% reduction if you're looking at it. But it's a huge reduction. Because when you're trying, if you've got several kids and they go to schools where they have to wear uniforms, and only certain stores carry certain uniforms for certain school areas, that's a big deal. Okay, especially if your elder kid has, the younger kid, like mine did. My younger kid grew taller than my elder kid, so he couldn't wear his uniforms because they were suddenly not in the right height differential. So you have to do this anyway. The eligible items include clothing and footwear priced under $125 per item. So, yes, I am sorry, unless somebody has a sale on them Air Jordans that your kid wants, you're not going to be able to get them under this program. The school supplies that are currently listed, this could be changed, it may not, but this is what I was able to get. Notebooks, folders, pens and pencils, crayons and markers, glue and scissors, binders, calculators, backpacks, and other qualified school essentials used by students. Okay, where to shop for these items? Walmart, Target, Meijer, Kohl's, J.C. Penney. I didn't know we had any more of those. Macy's, Office Max, and Office Depot, and Staples. Between those places, you should at least be able to get maybe not everything you're going to use for all of the year, because there's always that one or two teachers at the last minute who's going to pop up something that your kid didn't know they needed, or your kid forgot to show you something until the day they were supposed to go, they were supposed to turn up at class. Oh, I need to get this, so we can't do anything about that. But this is your Auntie Moon trying to make sure that I give parents out there as much of a step up as possible, because it's not easy raising kids, and it's not easy paying, even if you only have one kid, unless, you know, it's hard for people who are paying to put their kids through Catholic school and certain private schools these days. It ain't cheap, no matter where your kid goes to school. So anything you can do that's going to help you save some stuff, especially these items like their notebooks, their pens, their pencils, all of those things, especially stuff that they're going to constantly run through. Because I just remember, even as a small kid, and yes, it was part of my thought because I drew on paper a lot, probably when I definitely shouldn't have been. And I ran through a crap ton of pencils. You know, it happens. You have a kid who likes to draw, you have a kid who likes to write. They're going to run through a crap ton of pencils. Sometimes the teacher says, and yeah, I know there are some differences. Nowadays, teachers say, type it up, email it to me. But not all kids can think at the keyboard. I can't think at the keyboard. Okay, I have to write things out. And I took typing in middle school. Hello, I have to write things out longhand first. And then after I've written it out, I can sit down and type it. Some kids do better that way, so they're going to use pens and papers. They're going to doodle with their stuff. So, you know, forewarned is forearmed, is all I'm saying. So hope that helps. Back to you, Chet.
And that is a PSA for everybody here. I'm trying to figure out a couple of things here because we got a few reviews here. We got a couple of things about TV lore as well as comic book lore to talk about tonight. I'm just
Well,
trying to figure
also
out where to start.
some TV and movie lore.
Yeah, that's why I say we got a lot of stuff to talk about lore.
Okay.
So I don't know where to start.
Well, I will start again because, you know, I can't stop running my mouth.
No, it's not that. I think you're more well prepared than I am. To be quite honest here.
Okay. This week, and for those who don't know, because I was part of last week's show, I did make it through. The past couple of weeks, due to a mistake I made, I have been ridiculously ill, and I have spent more days sick in bed or my head in the toilet than I have getting stuff done and being well. It's just sometimes you make a mistake with things and you pay the price for it. And, you know, I am better today than I was a week ago when I was on the show. So hopefully, you know, I've got it all under wraps. But part of being sick meant I get to sit and watch some stuff on Unsay Perturbed. And I got to watch The Ninth Jedi, which is the latest animated series put out by, what is it called again? What is it? Star Wars Visions and Production LG. For those of you who've watched Attack on Titan, you'll know who Production LG is. They are the anime company that helped produce that show. They worked on this. Look and feel, it's a good show, just the look and feel of it. And just because these are the guys from Attack on Titan, no, nobody turns around and starts eating, turns 50 foot tall and starts eating people's heads. It's not that show. But in regard to lore, one of the things I saw, it addresses lore both subtly and in some ways not so. This series focuses on a young girl named Kara. And Kara, we find out, is a young Jedi. She's a Padawan, and she's got her little Padawan ponytail. She's somewhere, as far as I can figure, because they never say her age. So she is somewhere between the ages of, say, as young as 12, maybe no older than, say, 14 or 15. So she is a young girl, which is a lot of, if you watched the Phantom Menace, you learned a lot of kids are Padawans at that age. Ahsoka was a Padawan in her preteens. And what I liked about this character, there was so much of her, watching her go through this situation, that, and I say this because I saw the first movie come out, the first one that was just called Star Wars before it became A New Hope. It was just Star Wars. And when it came out, George Lucas and the guys did their interviews with Starlog and stuff. And one of the things that came out in those early interviews is that the original version of the story was supposed to be, instead of about Luke and the find your father or go get your destiny, it was a young girl looking to find her brother. She and her brother had been separated as children, and she was now going through the galaxy trying to find her brother. And what we now know as the Force was some combination between cocaine and weed.
Well, now, that's kind of weird because my understanding of that of Star Wars was, and I have to ask, was this before or after the failed pitch for Flash Gordon? Because that's what the original
that was where
premise
he
of
got
Star Wars was supposed to be the space opera for Flash Gordon,
that's
his version of
Flash
Flash Gordon.
Gordon, as he had said then,
Mhm.
was that was his inspiration, because like me, he had grown up seeing those they on TV,
Mhm.
depending on where you live. They took those old serials from the movie theaters and from the 30s and 40s movie theaters, and they played them on TV for kids.
Mhm.
You know, we had after school days, we had the Little Rascals.
Yep.
So I
Little
get to see
Rascals,
all the Little
Three
Rascals,
Stooges,
our gang, the
Laurel and
Little
Hardy,
Rascals. We got to see that as after school entertainment.
Ma and
Even
Pa
though,
Kettle.
well, I didn't actually. That was a at one point that I think was a Sunday afternoon show,
Mhm.
depending on who had the syndication. Um, but in regards to the initial story he was telling, and that's a thing on lore too, because sometimes the story these guys tell you about how they got this thing made, or what the impetus for it was, sometimes changes by generations just because they feel like, well, they won't understand Flash Gordon, but maybe they'll understand this. But like I said, his original explanation was an early version of Star Wars was this story. This girl on a search for her brother ends up with space pirates battling this big baddie. And instead of the Force, they had this stuff that would like do things to your mind, and woo. Um, and I remember reading that going, oh, I'm kind of happy we got Luke and Leia instead. And it may have been at some point what he pitched at one point. We do know he did pitch several ideas, and finally, this, after he started developing it and THX started
Mhm.
gaining traction, suddenly people were more willing to listen to him. So we do know that. So how he developed the story into what we know it to be, there are kind of different stories floating, but this is the earliest story that I know of in reading the different magazines and interviews that he did, was saying, well, originally it was supposed to be about a girl looking for her brother instead of looking for Leia. So there's changes in the lore of how the lore came about. But what I liked about this series, it reaches back to that. There is that feeling of she's searching, except instead of searching for her brother, she's searching for her father. Her father was a Jedi who other Jedis have turned their back on because he killed his master. And they saw the murder happen. They don't know the conversation, and they saw it from a distance. They were not in the room where it happened. As the folks on Hamilton would say, they were looking at the room from a distance. So they didn't hear the discussion, they only saw the actions.
Oh wow.
And because of that action, that led all of his fellow students to not just turn their backs on him, but several of them turned their backs on the Jedi Order as it was. Because he was considered the best of their number, and for him to kill their master, it's like, well, maybe being a Jedi isn't such a good thing. He has it's sent her out with the mission. He's given her, and he's a light he is a lightsaber craftsman.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
he has sent her out to find people that will that she thinks are Jedi material, and to give them the lightsabers, as well as reconnect with his old friends in the hopes of getting the Jedi. Now, the story at the beginning kind of leans into what you think is this lore. Well, he killed his master and turned evil. Because when we finally get to see her father, he is with the big baddies. And
okay. So
one of whom is a big baddie because as a child, he saw this situation from a distance. He did not hear the conversation. All he saw was the actions. But how he took it turned him to the Sith.
Okay.
Okay. So you take an action. And one of the interesting things that it took me a few episodes before it went click, oh, I get it now, was one of her father's oldest friends who finds her, who has taken and sheltered her and helping her on this journey, tells her after she has a fight and her lightsaber turns red. She kills the guy and her lightsaber goes red. And as we know, red indicates anger, passion, intensity.
In other words, Sith behavior.
And he tells her there's a difference. And sometimes we don't always get it. There's a difference between staying on the straight path and doing the right thing. They're not always that same path. They might run a little parallel, but and we learn that in this film, this series. And it's interesting how they show, because of where you are in a situation and how you perceive it to be playing out, how that affects you. And they're the way in which, for adults in the conversation, they kind of gave up because they thought he's the best of us and he killed our master. So, there were adults in that conversation who just said, I'm walking away. There were others who I'm walking away, but now that you're here, I will give you and she encounters all of these people, and some of them are like, well, okay, I will give you leave to do what you feel you need to do. I will not directly support you. I will give you leave to talk to my people, but I support my people in their decisions. So if they decide they don't want to be bothered with you, they're just not going to be bothered with you. Others is like, oh, okay. And one of the guys who was actually one of the baddies towards the end, after who she fights with and defeats, he's like, oh my goodness, you whooped my ass. And she's like, yeah, that means I own you. Your life is mine. You are now my Padawan. It's like, yeah, girl, you just told him that it's like it or not, you work for me now. It's like, I'm not discussing pay or any of that. You just, I did not.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, you just got owned, and that's the literal definition of you getting owned.
And I love it. I loved. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy this journey, but I loved the journey. I loved Kara. There were characters that you meet through this journey. It's like, oh man, the sooner they kill your ass, the better. And then you get through the story a bit, and it's like, oh, okay. Now that I know you, I understand this situation. And others were like, oh, the sooner the sooner you die, the better. It's like, okay, yeah, the sooner you die, the better. But I feel bad that you had to go through this, because you were not old enough to know what you were witnessing. You know, but that it, you know, I mourn the fact that your misunderstanding has led you to make bad decisions. And you could have asked why this happened, and you just never did. If you had bothered asking why this happened, you would have got the necessary answer. And so it was interesting. It was interesting where I found myself going along these tangents, and also how each of them built a sense of lore in their own heads. Each of them was certain the way this thing played out was because this was the story. And then they start finding out, oh, okay, there was difference here. Okay, that's not the story we thought it was. And it was interesting because then it affects the way, you know, it's like, oh, because I didn't understand the story, I made these choices. And while some of these choices were the right choices, other choices were wrong. And I love the fact that, yes, there's her and another boy, Ethan, who are definitely, I think he's around 16. He's maybe a little older. So you have, because it's a classic, there's a lot about this from gestures that they do, presents itself as very classic anime. You're looking at Eurocentric people, but they are acting as if they're Japanese. Which you see, those of us who grew up watching anime, that just happened. That's just how it's done. But it was just an interesting story and lore building, and how the central lore branches depending on who is getting what part of it. And even when you think you know the truth, you don't.
Wow.
And I loved it. And like I said, by the end of it, I was just I was angry with myself because I had, you know, I was watching it and making these assumptions and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, I should have stayed open to the story. And then I closed myself off and said, no, this is it. You know, and I was thinking, and it made me think, because if you think about Ahsoka Tano, her story, the lore of Ahsoka Tano, what happened to her, you know, and how she had to make a choice because of an untruth, but because the person who was putting out this untruth, putting out this narrative, had more power in the situation than she did. She didn't, and the men who should have defended her didn't.
See, that's where I guess I look at Ahsoka a little bit differently, because the person that you mentioned also never truly lied to her either. He told her the truth. He pretty much told her the truth, except for when he switched sides. Why he switched sides? He never told her why he switched sides, but he told her the truth, so she wasn't deceived.
No, but in a way, there were others in the order when she was put on trial who were deceived about what was going on. People twisted the narrative to make it sound like she was somehow the villain in this situation. And while she wasn't going to be killed or anything like that, she realized, okay, there's no place for me here. And she left. And I think about the character of Rey, because the actress who portrayed her got so much flack. You know, and by the time she was done with her trilogy, she was kind of like, woof, okay, I'm done, I'm out. Thank you. Because she got so much flack because they felt a guy should have been carrying that narrative. Well, if they were going to have a girl carry the narrative, blah blah blah. There were a lot of people who were not happy with the second trilogy, who put that blame on her.
Which they shouldn't have done. They should have put it on Carolyn Kennedy, because she messed up. She forced them to mess up the lore of Palpatine.
That's what I'm saying. She took a lot of the blame for that. Those 200 little fanboys who like to bitch about everything.
And that was kind of like
Because
one of
they
my
made
gripes after
her.
I saw the last Skywalker. That was my major complaint. It's like you took 3 movies before you really stated that she was Ray Palpatine. I figured it out after the first movie, and I kind of figured that it's like, oh, they're going from the books now. And if unless you read some of the novels, like I said, I have a lot of diehard Star Wars fans that read a lot of the novels, so a lot of the lore did not escape me. I just didn't know where they was going with it because they didn't stick hard fast to it.
The last novel I bought and read was Splinter of the Mind's Eye,
Mm-hmm.
which I really loved. And then I gotten to read some of the early comics,
Mm-hmm.
And so again, you can see how lore gets changed, even if it's subtly, to the point of by the time it gets to this point, you it's like you almost don't recognize it because it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Speaking as someone who was like, 15 when this came out,
Mm-hmm.
that don't make no sense. And then being told, oh, you're just old. It's like, no, you don't respect the damn lore, and it has nothing to do with this
They
girl.
had again. That's the whole
She
thing.
didn't write it. What's his name? Didn't write it.
Mm-hmm.
And to have this young
Abrams
boy,
didn't write it. She
but I'm
didn't write
saying
it.
there were characters who were
Kathleen
really
Kennedy said, "Damn with the lore. We just
screw
go ahead
the
and do it
lore.
this
I
way."
want to make the movie I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, Kathleen, you were really good in some areas, but this way you screwed the pooch bigly. And you
Again,
need
there
to
should
own
have
you
never
need
been
to
hate for
own that.
Finn. There should have never been hate for Rose. There should have never been hate for Ray in
Yeah.
the aspect of a lot of these fanboys had, especially for
And
Rose.
just because what they didn't want to see the black guy in her, it was because they were shooting it at first to make it definitely Finn, and it was definitely Finn and Ray. And then the black guys, no, you can't have that. Oh my God, no, he can't get her. He can't be with her. It's like,
Actually,
do you know what you want?
they didn't realize what was going on after episode 7. They did not realize that they were hinting that Finn could have been a Jedi. And the thing about it is, like, how often do we know a clone having the midichlorian count to possibly become one?
Or let alone
Nobody
be forced.
wields a lightsaber in the way that he did in that first movie against a known person who has trained as a Jedi and as a Sith and come out alive.
So yeah, there is it. I think the way the story should have come out is to show that they were related somehow. They should have been. My thing is like, okay, that the fact that he could pick up that lightsaber at all, turn it on, means he's at least force sensitive. And Finn isn't a clone, remember, because they have 2 different types of stormtroopers. They have the clones, they still use the clones, but then they have people either snatched as children that they
Well,
then
that is true,
turn
but we
in,
don't know if
or
he's
who
truly
join
a
up. I
clone of
think
the snatched child or the child itself. Because remember, he for when he took his helmet off for the very first time and showed that he was African American, one of the things that people fail to realize is that he had a forced vision at that time.
he
He
was.
didn't
That's what
he didn't just panic up under the battle. He saw what was going on via the force, and that was
so
the whole thing about his captain.
he was
His
force
captain kept
sensitive.
protecting him for a reason.
He was force sensitive,
Phasma, I believe.
which brings
Phasma
us
kept protecting
to
him for a reason.
sense Splinter of the Mind's Eye, because it
Mm-hmm.
features a character who helps Luke and Leia, who she's not a Jedi, but she's an older woman who is force sensitive, just like they did in what's the one where they have to go, the boss, no, it wasn't that one. It's the first of those movies where they go to the bar, and there's the lady with the glasses. She's not a Jedi, but she's force sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have a number of force sensitives who have somehow managed to either train themselves or meet up with a Jedi and learn a few things, or learn with another, learn from another force sensitive. But you do have force sensitive individuals, because you see that. We knew Leia could have been a Jedi, because at the end of the second movie, when Luke is at the Bosphorus and he's hanging at the bottom of that communications array. He's at the bottom of the city,
You mean,
hanging there.
Cloud City?
Yeah, he's
Cloud
at Cloud City. And he's hanging there. He calls to her. He doesn't call, and Wookiees are somewhat force sensitive. But he doesn't call to her. To anybody but her. He reaches out to Leia. Because we hear him say Leia, and then we see her. It's like her eyes go out of focus, and she's like, "Whoop." And she's like, "I know where he is." And she goes, and because Lando tries to stop her, and Chewie's like, hello. And he's like, all right. And she takes the ship. So he reaches out to her. He reaches out to her mind and says, hello, I need you right now.
Well,
so,
that was the understanding. Well, in that movie, there was understanding that his training has gotten to that point, but we got confirmation by Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but by then that was like a hint to say that she was the first one he reached out for. She was the one he reached out for. He didn't reach out to Chewie. He didn't reach out to Lando. He reached out to her. There was some connection. There was some
connection between the two, but we didn't get confirmation.
They didn't understand it, but there was a sense of the fact that I knew sitting there, okay, this is more than I got the hots for you. This is more than we are bonded in some way that goes beyond any sort of attraction. There is a bond here. No matter where we go in the world from this point out, we will always find each other. I kind of knew that, and it's like if I had someone like that, it would be a brother.
Well, that was the scene from the Return of the Jedi. If you remember how Han came to her, it's like, what is truly the deal and everything, and Luke is over there with the Emperor and Vader about to get ready to fight the Emperor, and she was up here like, oh, there's nothing between us. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing between us? Like, you don't realize Luke is my brother, because remember the whole thing about the twins, about her, she never knew who her twin brother was, but she knew that she was a twin.
She knew she was a twin. She knew something. She knew more than he knew, because she got to spend time with their mother, and he didn't. But there's that point when they're on.
No, Padme died. Padme died shortly after that.
That's another change in the lore, because if you watch that movie,
well, you have to be mindful that this never happened.
No, he asked her, "Do you remember your mother?" And she admits that she did know her mother, her real mother, not the royal,
not Organa's wife,
but her real mother. She talks because she was sad, like she was grieving something. And then he tells her about the force being strong in his father. In his family. His father had it. He has it. His sister has it. He tells her, my sister. And he looks at her and she goes, I knew. I think I've always known. So we have that in movies. It's in the friggin' lore. Then they run up and say, oh, let's change that. And so we'll make it different. And it's like, no, you can't, because we already know Padme didn't die in birth. Leia's already said she knew her mother.
But that was the thing.
Her mother's sadness, a great grief. that she had, that as a child, Leia could sense that something was wrong. She wasn't the cause of it, but she knew there was something,
Right.
some
There was
heavy
something was
grief
wrong.
that was on her mother's heart that she didn't know how to, as a small child, she had no idea how to fix.
But Rise of the
So
Sith kind of eroded that by saying, or
they
by saying Padme died, and they literally showed Organa taking Leia and Owen taking Luke. I
what we
believe it
see
was
is
Obi-Wan. It was young
Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan that made certain that they stayed separate because they wanted to make
Obi-Wan
certain
takes,
that Anakin does not go back to get them.
yes. So what he does is he makes the deal with the Organas. You take the girl, and they're like, well, what about the boy? He goes, I've got that worked out. And he then takes, because Owen is his brother. We find out
I
that
thought
in the
I thought
second movie, we
Owen was
find
related to Anakin and not
no,
Obi-Wan.
Owen is Obi-Wan's brother.
Oh, so that makes a lot more sense in
They
episode 4 then, about why he kept pushing him away. Even though he knew
that was
about
why
him
they were
going to see Ben, he's like, yeah, he's an old flake. Don't worry about it. He's just a heretic and this, that, and the other. He never made
he's
a
just
big deal about saying
crazy
that's
old
my
man now.
brother. He
Yeah,
didn't indicate that's my brother. But he knew that when he went to see him, he was okay.
yes, but he was not supposed. The agreement that they had was that Owen was supposed to keep Luke on Tatooine until such time as Obi-Wan or the situation made it so he couldn't. And that's why when you see them, when they get to that first movie and they go back because they're talking, he goes, oh my God, that'll lead them to, and they run back and you cut and they're back at the place and we see them dead. We see Beru and Owen dead.
Yeah,
Their
we
bodies
see that the Empire came in and just swept
just
through there.
burn them. And if you there's and I don't know, they may have edited it out, but there is a cut where there's a really curious look on Obi-Wan's face, which now if you once you see what was supposed to be the first 3 movies of that story, the beginning, you now get God. He wasn't just mourning for Luke, because I always thought, as a young, you go, oh goodness, he really feels for Luke. It's like, no, now I know that was his
He was mourning
brother and
his brother and his wife, his actual family, and
they
which makes
lost.
a lot more sense about why Obi-Wan lived the way that he did, especially the lore about him almost marrying the what would have been the Queen of Mandalore,
Yeah.
because he almost left the Jedi Order to marry her. I was like, that would have been very interesting if he did, and he really became Mandalorian on top of that.
But and I've always, like I said, I've always looked at that, and it's interesting and it's sad to me because those were moments that gave us such deeper meaning into how these people were all connected, and the fact that they didn't just have a dog in the fight; they had whole freaking breeds of dogs, kennels of them in the fight, and that this wasn't that when Obi-Wan faces off against Vader, it's personal. He's not just trying to help Luke and to complete this mission. It's also his brother, his brother's wife, the lives that were lost as a result of this. Because I always think, especially after we saw Rise of the Sith, it's like there's something that Obi-Wan has always carried. He never, if he had finished the job, made sure he was dead, there wouldn't have been, even if the Empire had risen, they wouldn't have had Vader.
Why?
They wouldn't have
See,
had
that
Vader.
makes me wonder about episode 4. Why Qui-Gon was never mentioned in that last fight before Vader struck Obi-Wan down.
He doesn't. Yeah, Anakin. I think because of the time in which I don't think he spent as much time with Qui-Gon as he did with Obi-Wan.
But
Qui-Gon's
remember, it was
time with
Qui-Gon's
Anakin.
wish that Anakin
It was
was
Anakin.
trained, and the
Yes, and
only
it was
one that was there to
Qui-Gon
train
who
him to honor
found
that
him.
was Obi-Wan.
But I'm saying he was Qui-Gon was this big figure for him. Because think, he's a small child. In many ways, yes, he is much older. He is an adult. But at the time that he comes into this little family of 3, Obi-Wan is still a Padawan. At the time in which they first meet young Anakin, Obi-Wan is still Qui-Gon's Padawan. He is still a Padawan. He does not graduate from Padawan to full Jedi until right before Qui-Gon's death. He goes and he takes the challenge, passes it, and then they end up going on the mission that brings about Qui-Gon's death. So Anakin is still very young. The majority of his time as he's growing up is spent with Obi-Wan. When he's warning Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan is the only one he can turn to because, you know,
Well,
what happened to his mother.
the council turned against Qui-Gon.
But I'm saying that only left him Obi-Wan. And at the time, Anakin is a small child. He's not getting all the subtleties and stuff that's going on. Okay, he's not getting all the subtleties and stuff that's going on. He's when a small child is only going to know who's taking, oh, this big man brought me out of slavery. These 2 men, he's gone now, but I still have this guy, and he's like a brother. He's this brother who takes care of me, who's training me. So he spends more time in Obi-Wan's company than he does Qui-Gon.
That is actually true. That part I do understand. That part I understand more so than anything.
And a small child, you're gonna, especially since at that point he's had no adult human father figure.
That's true because it was just him and his mother.
It was him and his mother, and he was racing. He was trying to do these races so he could get them out of poverty, make enough money so he could buy her freedom. And through buying her freedom, get his own. So it's like a 9-year-old boy trying to get his family out of slavery.
Well, there's really a lot more that I got out of there than just that, because out of the first set of trilogies, this is a young kid that never had to deal with PTSD. He had a hell of a lot of PTSD. He lost just about everything. And then when he found out he lost his mother, when he found out that, he lost pretty much all the reason why he was there, and all the training and everything that he went through, to try to do something better for his life. It just, I don't know what else to say, but it's just like he just never dealt with it.
Well, and also,
and to be quite honest, Palpatine played on that.
Yeah, I was about to say Palpatine saw that, and his need to prove himself, to prove that Qui-Gon was right in choosing him, that Obi-Wan was right in training him. That he had this thing, he wanted to prove himself. When you come from that sense, you come from, because at that age, you understand what being poor is. You understand poverty. You understand the fact that you were limited in where you can go, what you can do, and almost every breath is by someone else's leave. He gets that. These people brought him out. He wants to show that he is worthy of the choice. And they keep going, well, you're not old enough, or you're not quite ready, because they can see they're trying to help him through this without, beating him in the head with it. Palpatine is seeing this and going, "Oh, I can use this to my advantage."
Yeah, it's like
Which is
he told us like how the Jedi Council told you everything. There's certain things that they probably hid from you that could help you in your journey. And he started showing him.
And when he's not at an age where he can deal with all of this, where he can, just verbalize it properly or just process it. No, I'm just going to dump this on you. And then when you're angry, I'm going to say it's their fault. They did this to you. They let this happen and they're holding you back.
And that's how pretty much he got him to believe in him, because the more information that he gave about things that the council never showed him, the more that seed of doubt grew in him.
And then
to cross over.
Well, that and pair that with he's a teenage boy. Hormones. All these changes are going on in him mentally and physically. He's getting these hormone surges and he's got all this power and I should be able to use this. And it's like, and instead of listening to Owen says, you need to learn that power for the sake of power isn't a good thing. And you need to learn that there are times when you use that power and at times to keep it in check. And Palpatine is in his ear telling him what he wants to hear. They're all against you. They want to hold you back. They don't want to let you, they don't respect you. We respect you though. We're going to elevate you to this position on the council so they can't kick you out. And the council's looking at, okay, we don't want to destroy this boy because they can see the danger if they get too intense on it. But at the same time, you can see the council is like, because you definitely see it in Mace Windu.
You saw it. Mace Windu, he was
Mace
being named in particular by Palpatine to do X, Y, and Z.
But by that time, it's just, and I was a teenager. I know how this goes. You got that one person telling you what you want to hear. And you glom onto that because that's what you want to hear. And you ignore the people who are desperately trying to tell you what you need to hear. Because that's not letting you feel righteous in your indignation and you got this. Why aren't I allowed? I've got this. Why aren't I allowed to do it? Blah, blah, blah. You want what you want. You don't necessarily, that's the thing about teenagers. You want what you want it now. And you're not necessarily concerned about
you're not thinking about the consequences of tomorrow.
You're thinking about, because when you're a teenager, all you think about is today. What do I want today? What do I want right now? How come I can't have what I want right now? And Palpatine played him, like a harp from hell.
Especially with killing the Academy. That was the saddest point because it's like it wasn't the fact that he did it to lash out. He did it because Palpatine said,
you have to do this. And I get, and I'm thinking that's what to me made it the most horrible. And that to me made it where there's no coming back from this action, because these children were of no danger to you. These were little Padawans.
Untrained Padawans who
could
not hold that candle to you.
Who had, even together, had no way of defending themselves against you. These were not seasoned adults. These were not other teenage Padawans. These were the little kids, the preschoolers.
The untrained.
That they had found and realized were force sensitive, and because their families were poor or whatever, they at least were able to save the children to give them a future, only to find, and I keep thinking, to have been Obi-Wan at that, to find out what he'd done. Because they were giving these children the same opportunity he was given. A chance to get out of all that, a chance to find a life beyond all that sadness and misery and stuff. And then he just went and ended them. Yeah, he looked off. He went to Padme and was like, I just no.
No, no,
Bitch, you
that's
killed
that
those
wasn't the thing that
babies.
bothered me the most.
You killed
One of the
those babies without a second thought. You went and did it because he told you to, and you didn't. In no point did you stop at any of those children and think, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? How is this a good thing? He never stopped once. And those kids, because those kids would have known who he was. So they'd have all looked up to, oh my God, Paddle, oh my God, Anakin. Yes, the Skywalker. Woo, he's come in. They didn't realize he was coming in there to kill her.
Nope, not at
And
all. But the thing that scares me that was more bone chilling than anything else,
what?
and this is why I have so much respect for Ahsoka. He told Ahsoka before he did it.
And that's a heartbreak too.
He
Because that's
Ahsoka was
something that
like
Ahsoka has had to carry.
Ahsoka had to bear a lot because that was it. It's like the more I watch her series and look and go back and look at Clone Wars and Rebels,
Yeah.
people don't realize that Ahsoka was literally a child general at the age of 8. She was nothing more than a soldier from day one up under Anakin's training. She has compassion, but the thing about it is her compassion conflicts what she knows about war.
But I
And
think
that was so messed up because when Anakin told her about what he's about to get ready to do, the way that he approached her with it is that we are in the middle of a war. You may not agree about the method. And I told you from day one, you being my Padawan, I would never tell you an untruth. I'm about to go ahead and do this. This is on me. Has nothing to do with you. I'm making this judgment call
but the thing
because
is
because
he
because he said I felt that the council did not tell me about this, that, and the other, and this is what then this
and
is
I
going to
have
be
to
the end
punish
result.
the council by killing these innocent children. And the thing is he also he killed something else because in many ways he killed something in Ahsoka because he burdened her with that, knowing that as her Padawan, she was not likely to betray him. And so he not only does he do this horrible thing, but he does this even other horrible thing to her. And it's kind of like the teenager who convinces the younger kid to help them steal something, or he just tells the younger sibling that he's done it, the younger sibling or cousin, or that he's done this thing. So if he gets busted, well, he knew and he didn't say anything.
Well, not
So he
just
can
that,
get that
not even
other
just that. It's
child
like
in
we're about
trouble.
to, he's going to steal something. He's like, okay, you could come along here, stand right here. When I come by, you're going to hold this bag and just don't do anything. Just stay there.
Yeah.
So he comes around, gives him the bag, and the little kid is still there. This, that, and the other.
And the
Everybody
cops and the
looking around this, that,
cops
and the other, and then you're the one holding the bag. They come after you, and it's like, why did you steal this? It's like I didn't steal nothing. It's like, and you look in the bag, it's the stolen goods. It's like I was here all the time. I never went inside the store.
but it's in your possession. How do you explain that? And now you're caught between, because as a child, your first thought is adults aren't going to believe me. You're either caught between your sense of loyalty to this other kid, because the older kid has also done things where they've gotten that kid in scrapes that they've been gotten them out of.
Right.
Because you need to build that loyalty, which is what Palpatine does. And Anakin doesn't see it. He's getting him into things and then gets him out of it with his he uses his position to
Again,
kind of help.
nobody knew he was the chief Sith at that time.
Yeah, but he's getting.
Well, actually, I take that back. Windu and Yoda did, but they just didn't know how to prove it.
They didn't have that incontrovertible proof that the council would need to turn on him, and then turn on him to all those governors. Because remember, it's not just the council; it's the Senate.
It's the full Senate. It's the full
Senate, and they've got to have incontrovertible truth. Just saying, well, we have a feeling, does not hold with the Senate. So, and the Senate want cold hard facts. It's like when what's her name was in Andor.
Yeah, I
she
have
realized
to watch
her. Oh, you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Just like I watched Ahsoka, I was like, yeah, Ahsoka is the continuation of my favorite rebels.
That senator, the female senator that becomes so central to what's going on in Andor in the later seasons,
mm-hmm.
She's the one that sends them off to that planet where they die. The redhead.
Okay.
And the actress who plays her at the beginning of the series, her hair starts out, it's blonde and it's styled differently. And I didn't realize who she was until I see her last scene where she makes this speech to the Senate. And her hair is like, holy crap, that's her. It's like, oh my goodness, I wasn't putting two and two together. It's like, yeah, y'all just messed me up on that lore. But Andor is another, it's interesting how series like Andor and stuff, they've stitched all this stuff in to the greater Star Wars universe.
Because there's all different time periods. There's all different time
even
periods.
In The Mandalorian, you see how they have stitched his story as well as Mandalorians in general into that universe, into that timeline. How they've been bringing them in, so they're not, because you think, okay, this is this separate thing, and you go, oh no, this is how they fit within the fabric of this tapestry. Just like the Bad Batch, which is one of John's favorite animated Star Wars series, is the Bad Batch. They were clones who
Wait, is that the series that kind of talked about what happened to the batch of clones that came after Rex?
There's a little girl who's from that same group of clones, but they've messed with the DNA to make her a cross-sex clone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's given her, and she's gained certain abilities. And John could tell you more about it because he's watched that series from beginning to end. He loves that series. He has loved that series. But it's interesting. I've watched a few episodes with them, and starting from the beginning where they wake up. Hey guy, IPG.
Yes. Oh, that's who that is here. I'm going to give him it. Hopefully he doesn't mind. But that is Kevin Fair, who owns IPG.
Oh, okay.
You know who Kevin Fair is.
I know who Kevin Fair is. Oh my goodness. Hey, Joe. Hey, I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm tired. I've been sick. Hug Jeffrey for me next time you talk to him. He knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, he would know what you're talking about.
But it's been interesting how they introduce these stories, that they have the strength to be standalone stories, but also the really best of these stories. Hey, baby, you got to come over and let me feed you. How these stories, while they're great standalone stories, also when they start bringing them into stitching them in to the overall lore. This is how these pieces fit into this tapestry. This is how they form this part of that picture. And I think of it as a tapestry. Because
when it's done correctly, it is a big tapestry, because I still want to see what happened with Admiral Thrawn before we get to the First Order. They never completed that particular arc as of yet, dealing with the rebels.
Okay. I
I'm still sad about a couple of things here. Because one, I don't like the fact that they're putting everything on Ezra right now, dealing with the lore of this. Because I was like, if anything, if anything, I would have to say, as of right now, between Sabine and Ezra, they both need Ahsoka to be like the main, to be the main, to be their main, if I could say, teacher. Because Ezra still, to me, is a Padawan. He has not reached Jedi level, even though he has the ability of a
he's
Jedi at this point.
he's their
Sabine
pathfinder.
is really starting her journey as a full-fledged Padawan at this point.
I have not heard any whispers as to when they're going to give us more Ahsoka. And that is pissing me off because I really love that series. I love Girlfriend in that role. I think she does it exceptionally well ever since they
Because she's
had her
so
do
cute.
episode of the band. It's not that she's just so cute.
She is.
She is cute, but you have to look beyond the cute, okay? You have to look beyond the cute.
See, you're up here like she's a badass in that role. It's like, yes. Yes, she is.
But she's just so cute.
She is.
Anyway.
Again, one of my favorite roles for her was a little known role that she played in Sin City as the leader of that one district.
Yeah, she was in that battle scene with what's his name? That was King Arthur. They go in. She's his deadly queen. They're shooting up the place and making out.
Yeah, the unofficial queen of No Face. That was the character's name, No Face.
And she goes in there and she
the only place I could recognize him anywhere. Because he literally has no discernible face. He always changes his face all the time.
But it's not him. It's what's his name who played King Arthur, the one that Ewan Griffith was in as
Right.
Lancelot, the British guy, and I can't remember his name right now. If you know the name, baby, say it. But he's the one that she ends up smooching with at the end of that scene when they shoot the place up and burn it down.
They all was laughing and everything because that one mobster thought he was bad enough to come into their deck of tiles. Like, oh, we're not going to be afraid of a bunch of women.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Like, you did messed up.
And what's her name from Gilmore Girls ends up buying it at the end because
because she betrayed him.
She betrayed him, and I love the fact that it begins kind of with that because we see the dude, and it's like, okay, who is he there to kill? And then the end of it, we get the answer. I'm like, yep, okay, see, now you got me because I need more movies like that because this was great, and the casting in that was so great. Elijah Wood. Coming off Mr. I actually was in the theater. I got jumped up and went.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that what's his face? Bruce Willis would have made a great Kerrigan. I didn't think he would have been great. And then who played Marv? That was Chef Kiss. How they cast Marv was Chef Kiss. I'm sorry,
but I'm saying when I saw Elijah, I was like, "Damn, Mr. Frodo, what you doing?" Oh boy, what are you doing in this movie? Doing that stuff, eating folks, and oh no, Mr. Frodo, go home. Your mama's calling you.
But we kind of got a little bit off kilter with the change in lore and everything. I think the Star Wars talk is really where we needed to be at about the constant changing of lore because. Like the thumbnail that I brought up was Speed Racer, and I was trying to tell you before the show, it's like Speed Racer went through a lot of lore changes, not because of the original series, it's because of everything that came after. When we originally got Speed Racer over here in the States, we pretty much got everything that the Japanese got, minus certain scenes where they said that it was not as family friendly because there was a lot of death and other issues with guns and violence that was in the original Japanese version that we didn't get over here in the States. But the story pretty much stayed the same.
We got Racer X slugging Speed in the stomach all the time.
Right, but
Racer X, are you
we didn't
Racer X?
we didn't get a lot of the confirmed deaths and stuff that was in the original Speed Racer stuff.
That's right. They had deaths, but they were never confirmed on camera. They were
Right.
always mentioned later. So
And
yeah,
then
we didn't get confirmed unalivings, as we're supposed to say.
right. But because of that here, we also didn't because of that, when that TV series went away and the comics were still around, when Now Comics took over that comic book series, they took liberties in changing the lore. They actually gave Speed a actual physical name that is not synonymous to the television series at all. We got add-ons to what was going on with Racer Automotives and a moving away from the actual racing part of it to something that was almost sci-fi-ish.
But see,
Moving
that's
toward
what
that
I
way.
loved was the whole racing aspect of it was, every week it was a different race and whatnot. And I got to the point where this little girl, when we would be coming home from, because my mother loved drag racing. And what is it called when they have these racers, they're extended. They have that extra extended body.
Oh, Top Fuel funny car, NRA drag racing, Top Fuel. That's the
Yeah,
Top Fuel
she
vehicle.
loved drag racing and all of that. And my stepfather, when I was younger, used to take us.
Mhm.
We would go to the drive-in, we'd go see the drag races and stuff. And coming home, because back then they did not have seatbelt laws when I was a child. Okay, they didn't have seatbelt laws when I was a child.
They didn't have
Seatbelt
seatbelt
laws
laws
didn't
until
show
I
up
was
until I was
pretty
about.
much about to get ready to graduate from grammar school, and that was like mid '80s.
Well, they started seatbelt laws for children around the 70s.
Mhm.
And then the 80s, they started with those kids in the back seat. Because it
Right.
used to be kids could sit anywhere in the car, but then it was like if you have a child, they have to be buckled in. And they didn't have special seats for us. All the
And the
safety,
seatbelts that was never fitting for us in the front seat.
you'd be strangled.
Mhm.
It was but I used to get in the back seat and turn around so I could face the rear view window
Mhm.
and pretend that we were racing. So all the cars behind us were losing the race. And if I wasn't turned forward, I couldn't see anybody ahead of us. I could only see everybody losing behind us.
Mhm.
So in my head, I could make out like we were winning the race, and we were cool. Yes, I was psychotic as a child. Jeez.
No,
You know.
that was just fun.
Over
That was just
yourselves.
you having fun here. But that was the thing, because they was moving more and more towards sci-fi, which is not the case here.
Yeah.
And then they had two other attempts of reviving Speed Racer in the United States. One only went half a season because of the
Wasn't
simple
one a
fact that
re-editing
it
of the
just
original? Wasn't one a really sloppy re-editing of the original series at one point? Didn't they try to do a sloppy re-edit of the original series to try and
they
change up
tried to bring out what was done in the Now comics as if it was part of the real
part of
series.
the original series? And
And
it
then they did a futurized one called Next Generation, where they moved everything towards Speed. Speed had an actual son name whose name was Speed. Sparky had kids, and it's like it just didn't work.
what happened to Straddle and Chim Chim? They should have been the Next Generation. Straddle was
Again,
learning
they
to
skipped
drive.
all of that.
That
They
Strider
skipped
could drive Pop's car.
Spritle actually raced in a race for go-karts and everything in the original series,
Yeah,
because
he
that
had
was the whole thing, because he was a dead ringer for this one prince, and they was thought that the prince was going to be in the auto race, and he switched places with him,
and they
and he
started
drove it.
Yes, I was about to say Spider was a motorist, and he was a driver in his own right. Barely knee high to a cockroach, but he can move a
But
vehicle.
as you can see, that another change of lore failed, and then over there in Japan they came out with another Speed Racer series. I forgot what the full title was. They got the full season of it. Nickelodeon got a hold to it, and it did pass 6 episodes.
I didn't. I
And the
don't
reason
remember
being is
watching it.
because Tatsunoko stopped it.
Ah, okay.
Because the people who did it in Japan did not have full rights over that version of Speed Racer.
Got it.
So that's one of the reasons why the movie, when it came out, was so important, because it was blessed by Tatsunoko, and it rekindled that revival of the original series with a little bit of updating of a lot of the stuff, because the tracks and stuff that they had in that movie, that was impossible back in the day.
Yeah, you couldn't have had tracks like that. But also, I don't know. I see I'd seen some things that they'd covered in Entertainment Magazine and a couple of other places, and I just wasn't feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, I'm gonna take the position of not my Speed Racer. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm gonna
but
take
that
the
movie
position
was
of
Speed
not my
Racer.
Speed
It was
Racer.
our Speed Racer for back in the day.
Okay, so I think part of it was the way they were trying to sell it. Kind of
That
irked
I
me
will
in
give to
some
you,
ways.
because
They were trying to
it was
market
considered
it.
a sleeper hit. It was considered a sleeper hit because not from the previews or anything, people wanted to go see it because everybody thought it was not going to be anything good.
Yeah.
It was after the fact that if you went to see it in theaters, or like me, bought it on DVD because like, okay, I'm a fan of Speed Racer, I'm going to give it a shot. I got it at a cheap rate, and then you watched it, but like, oh my goodness, this is what we grew up with.
I have to get your copy then, so I can sit and watch it.
Yes,
I have to get your copy, or we have to figure out a way to link ourselves so we can just do a movie night and watch it and make weird commentary. Get a couple of pretend, robots to make commentary with.
well, we wouldn't be able to broadcast it, but we probably could
No,
do it. We could probably do it this way. I just hook up the my CD DVD to the laptop and watch it that way.
oh, okay, because I've got some movies
We
I've
would,
been
like I said, we wouldn't
wanting
be
to
able to
share with you.
broadcast it over like
No,
YouTube
no,
and
no.
stuff
But
like
I'm
that,
saying for just to sit up and maybe invite Cliff to the three of us can sit and watch something together.
because I think the last time that we did that, and like for those who watched From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, me and one of my friends, Jake, from like, I want to say overseas, I want to say from the Netherlands, we did the exact same thing. We did a viewing and commentary of Kick Heart.
Oh, okay.
And Kick Heart was a Studio IG anime that came on Cartoon Network and everything, but it was a crowdfunded project that was very little known, but it was about a luchador who was really hard on his luck and everything, and finally got his opportunity to make it big in the industry, but he had to fight the one person that he admired,
Ooh,
and it
yeah.
happened to be a luchadora that he admired, and there's like, the whole thing about it is that the luchadora that he had to face was actually a nun at the orphanage that he was actually fighting for. He's like, he would take his winnings and stuff and give it to this one orphanage.
And she was probably doing the same if she was a nun. She couldn't. Priests and nuns about allowed to have to earn money that they can keep.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably what she was also
But
doing.
that was the secret. That was the secret that he never knew. It's like
She was
the,
doing
the
this,
new nun that came to be at his orphanage was the wrestler that he always admired. Both
and now he had to fight her. Oh, that's gotta
No, but
suck.
it was kind of like a weird work love type relationship, because he fantasized about her. in that way. And the
Oh
very
no.
first day that he met her, he comes in and brings in like a nudie mag
To
into
a
the
nun?
orphanage. He was like, "Oh no, oh no!" It's like you can't have that. You can't have that. It's like I was like, "Oh, you gotta do mag. You know, you gotta do comic book or magazine, this, that, and the other." And when the kid pulled it up, if it turns out it was a wrestling magazine, and it's like, "Oh, okay," because he knew that he had a nudie magazine in that bag,
And the kid got the
and the
wrestling
nun
magazine.
and the new nun caught it before the little kid found out what it really was and switched it.
Ah, good nun. Let's say, yay, Sister Betril. That's probably
So
not her
you
name,
know,
but you know, the only nun I
it's
know.
a good series. It's a good series and everything. But the thing about it is that this is very limited. This I didn't realize at the time.
Ah,
I got it when it was out on sale, out on the market here, because there was only two ways that you could watch it. You could only watch it on Cartoon Network when they had like the special presentation on it, and they only had the special presentation for like 2 weeks. And then it came out on Blu-ray DVD.
ah,
I
okay.
didn't realize it was that short of print. This
Wow.
is literally out of print now.
Wow. That was a real short front run.
Yeah, so it was a really small print run and everything. And the person who I did the commentary with is like, it's like he was the one that told me that how lucky I was because it was just that out of print. You could probably watch it, or, somebody probably put it out there on YouTube or something. But to own a copy of it, it's like, yeah, it's going to pay. You want to pay an arm and a leg. I paid, I think, like $30 for it, but if you try to get it now, it's going to be like upwards of $100+
Well,
unless
Ninth
somebody really sells it for like really really cheap.
Ninth Jedi just came out,
Right.
and I've saved it to my account. But I am in a couple of weeks. I want to see how well they do because that'll probably drive Disney's decision whether or not to put it out on DVD. And I would like to just get it on DVD because I've got a list of things that I know John has really enjoyed that I need to start getting for him on DVD because it's like you never know. Something could happen. The internet could shut down. And I would like to know that he's got stuff that he can watch and be happy with. If enough, even if all I do is plug it into my computer and go, here you are, watch it. You can watch this and
The
be
whole
happy.
thing, the whole controversy about physical media.
I don't have a problem with physical media. I
Well,
I
that's the
have
thing. All these companies want to move digital. I don't understand.
I love my physical media library. I actually a writing group I'm in actually just got up and asked the question of how many books that members own that they hadn't read yet. And it's like, well, let's see, print media, books, and there we were asking like, do we count Kindle and Audible, or are we just talking print media? So
Well, that's kind of like the thing that I always have to kind of like ask myself here too, because me being a comic book collector, it's like, yeah, I've been collecting physical media as a whole here, but as of late, it's like, no, I don't collect CDs like I used to. But I still got
I've
a whole bunch. I still got a whole bunch of them in storage.
I've got
I still got a few VHS tapes and a VCR.
I've got what
I got a whole bunch
almost
of
two.
DVDs and Blu-rays sitting right here. So it's like to go completely digital. It's like I have a tendency like anything that I get digital that I actually have it as a file, I eventually move it over to DVD or Blu-ray anyway.
I've got if you need discs, I have some. We were going through a drawer and found out I had a thingy of blank discs.
Mhm.
So if you need blank discs for storage of anything, let me know. I've got them. I think I even have cases. But my intention is because there are things I have that I've got them, but I don't, I could wake up and Amazon might decide, oh, well, you know what? we're going to raise the price of your, because I've had to lose a couple of streaming accounts because I just can't pay for them. So, I don't know. Amazon may get up and say, oh, we decided to raise the price of this account, which means I would have to let go of that account. And then the question is, well, what about the movies I bought when I had that account? Do I still get to have those movies, or are those movies, because I have things like Rover Random is a book by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's a children's book he wrote about a
Right.
little dog. And it's a toy dog that ends up becoming a real dog. It goes to these adventures. Only thing is, getting a print copy in the United States is not that easy. You can pick them up in Britain, all over the place, in Britain, Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall. You can go there and get a copy. There are a lot of bookstores that will carry it, but I have gone to bookstores here. First time I had a copy, it was one of those weird, get a membership for this much. You can order so many books for like 90 cents or something like that. And
Right.
that was one of the books I got. And then I made the mistake of letting someone read the book. I've decided there are books that I will no longer lend out, like Bradbury's Dandelion Wine, or Something Wicked This Way Comes, or The Martian Chronicles, because every time I let somebody read that book,
Disappears.
it never comes back.
It disappears.
And that's what happened with my copy of Rover Random. I let a friend read it, and they not only did they not give it back, but when I asked them about it, oh, I forgot I got it from you and I let so-and-so read it. It's like, that was not your book to give. That was my book that I bought and paid for, that I let you read as a favor, that you then gave to somebody else, and now they've moved off somewhere. You don't know how to get in touch with them, and my book is gone.
And what makes it even worse is that they probably didn't offer to be like, hey, I'm going to replace this for you.
Yeah. They just looked at me like, well, sucks to be you. It's like, you know what? But that's how you learn. There are certain things you don't let certain people have.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't let people read my comics. I just don't. John can look at comics if he looks at them, where I am, and I can see he's in the room and he's reading a comic or whatnot. That's one thing. But just somebody coming in, oh, you've got, nope, sorry. Yeah, that's my copy of The Watchmen. Charles gave it to me as a birthday gift. If you look at it cross-eyed, I will start slicing bits of your anatomy off. Don't.
It's like I'm just picturing like the old school samurais. It's like you could be over 50 feet away, and somehow their sword strike would still hit you. That's just how strong of a strike that they did. And it's like, how did he cut me from that distance? That blade is not that long.
No, but between this bookshelf and my drafting table, there's a whole string of stabbies. It's like, you want to lose parts of your anatomy? Touch any of the books on these shelves without asking first.
Mm-hmm.
Because he gave me, I got The Watchmen. He gave me his copy of The Life of Pi that he had in school that I had read and then loved the book. And so he's like, oh, I got that. I read that at school. Like, it was one of the book requirements we have. And he gave that to me. It's like, no, I've got books. I've got books that I just don't want people touching, because I know they will walk out my house and never walk back in. And then if I confront the person, the attitude will be like, how dare you bug me about this book? Which I don't get. Somebody, you looking at a book like, ooh, I've never read that. I would really like to read that book. And somebody has the grace to say, you know what, I'm going to let you read this book. And then you catch an attitude because
when you say,
someone
hey,
gave
I
you
need this
extended
back.
grace to your ass. Somebody extends your ass some grace. And then when they ask you 6 months later about a book, and either you act like, I don't know what happened to your book, and then you looking at them, would you bug me about that book anyway? It's like, you wanted the book. I let you read the book.
Mm-hmm.
Common decency says, bring my
Return the
damn
book
book
back
back.
to me.
Even if it was like I couldn't get through it, fine. Bring my damn book back. You couldn't read it all because you didn't want to sit there and do the language. That's why I never let anybody read my copies of the Silmarillion, because I'm just not in the mood to go through it. It's like, sweetie, if you can't make your way through the Silmarillion, that's not my fault, you know. In fact, I was online with some Tolkien fans, and we were going over what our Tolkien libraries consisted of. Because no, they were just readers in general, but we were talking about some of the longest books that we've read and how often that we read them. And I found out I'm in a very small group of Tolkien readers who've read the trilogy as well as the Silmarillion, Book of Lost Tales 1 and 2, the Lays of Balerion and whatnot. Yes, I've read the serious stuff. Haha. But people, we were talking about, damn, yeah, how long did it? And we were trying to compare who gotten through it the fastest, And one guy had told us, yeah, I started on a Friday morning and finished like that following week, that following Wednesday, and it's like, really? Did you eat? Did you sleep?
Yeah, well, but again, when you're a faster reader, it does not take you that long to read a full book. I'm sorry, it's just that way.
But yeah, so people, somebody who really loves to read, don't ask them for their books. Not it. I don't care if you're trying to impress them. Sometimes the easiest way to impress a serious reader is like, you know what? I've never read that book. Do you know of any places where I might find a copy for, not full price? And we can send you Powell's on 57th Street, send you to Myopic Books over in, what is that again? It's not Lincoln Park. It's off Damon. Find the address, okay? But there's a whole list of different bookstores you can go to where if you can't find certain books new, you can definitely go to these bookstores. In fact, just about any major university, whether it's University of Chicago, they have some great used bookstores around University of Chicago, Loyola, DePaul. There's some great bookstores around a lot of those colleges, and a lot of them are used bookstores because guess what? When students have done their reading and stuff with their books and
They
they
want their
haven't,
money back.
and they know that they can probably get more money from a used bookstore near the school than going to the school bookstore, where if they're lucky, even if the book is in pristine condition, they might get maybe 5-10% of what they paid for it back. So,
I'm not saying it to be jokey, but that is the key thing here. People will sell it just because of the money aspect of it. It is what it is.
we had to go get books. John's last year at Malcolm X, my sister drove us out to get books for him. It wasn't Kennedy King, it was a school farther west, but we had to go to this one school to get these books, and by the time we were through getting those books, we had put up a few $100s. They were not cheap books. It was like, I wish it had occurred to me to take those books back and see if I could sell them back for the store for at least some of that money. Because that was not cheap. And I was at my generation, I think we were at the end of, we paid class fees in high school. And then, like, if you were in studio arts, you paid a class fee. Boy, I'm tired. You paid a class fee, and that class fee, because you were working in an art lab, you weren't just sitting there with, the cheapest sketchbook or a piece of paper and the cheapest pencil or whatever, doing an assignment. Excuse me. When you took like band and orchestra, you paid a class fee. Because you also had to pay a fee, band and orchestra, because I played saxophone, we had to pay a fee every year for the saxophone. Plus, I took classes. You had to take private along with all the classes we did, because we had rehearsals before school started. So we had to be there at like 6:30 for rehearsals. And then you had rehearsal in class. A lot of us would, if we had spare time, would come in, because we had practice rooms that were soundproof. So we would go in and we would practice in the practice room to get better at our parts. So to go over materials, plus we had boys club twice a week, and we had costs for boys club. But most of the kids I knew who took specialty classes, maybe paid like $5 or $10 at the beginning of the year. And if you had special trips, they may have told you, yeah, you got to have, $10, $15 because we're going to stop at whatever and get something to eat. But, I was looking at this list of all the stuff that parents have to buy for kids, and thinking, on top of that, there are the uniforms. Because when I was in school, we going back when we had to run away from the dinosaurs to get to class.
No, that's just you being you. There was no
don't make me
there was
come
no
get you.
dinosaurs during your time here.
Yes, there were. They were real big ones. Don't listen to him.
No, it's like
Don't listen to him.
Leia's not here, so there was no dinosaurs.
But anyway, school was expensive then, but at least then we didn't have to wear uniforms. Now you not only have to get your kids their regular clothes, but you also have to have their uniforms. And so and like I said, it was okay until John started hitting middle school, and then he was getting taller than Charles. And so it's like, well, your big brother's clothes won't fit you because you're not taller than him.
When hand-me-downs go in reverse.
And
it's like, people don't know what that means. It's like when the younger sibling is bigger than the older one.
And I didn't want to put John in that position where he was going to school in what we used to refer to as floods.
Yes.
Floods of what our generation used to call, if boy or girl, you went to school and your pants hem was so high above your shoes where you could see the person's ankles and what socks they had on. That's what they call floods. Because you could walk through the floods and not get your pants wet.
You would see all what type of sock they was wearing.
So it's like, yep, gotta go. That was the one good thing about was it our school, at least their uniforms were somewhat similar, so I could at least shop at the same store, because different schools also have different uniform colors. Like some schools have the blue pants and the white tops, and then others have the khaki pants and the red tops. So it depends on what school. And then of course there's Catholic school. That's a whole nother. And the only reason I know about Catholic school uniform, because in the early days of ROTC, when they started letting girls in, they didn't have uniforms for us. So guess what we had to wear? Catholic
Catholic
school
school
uniform.
uniform, because again, that is uniform dress code. It is uniform, therefore it fits. Just like when you haven't been fitted for your uniform, everybody had to wear black and white.
Oh, when I was in ROTC, you had a week. Once class started, you had a week to get your uniform. They told us, and there were stores that we went to where they would get the girl. You couldn't just go to a Catholic school and get any Catholic school uniform. There was a couple of stores where you would go and get your uniforms. You would take your ID to show that you were in ROTC, and then they would give you and you would have to find out what you'd have to buy your blouse and your skirt. We had the blouse, the skirt, and the vest. And then they had the regulations. You had about how high your heels could be, and you had to wear pantyhose. You know, and back then we didn't have certain regulations in our schools. So if the staff sergeant or whatever who was in charge of teaching ROTC at your school would look at the girls and go, "Are you wearing pantyhose?" You'd say, "Yes." They would sometimes reach over and touch your leg to see if you were lying. Nowadays, parent groups would be like ready to burn the school down. Back in the
Yeah, they
day,
would be ready to burn the school down, but again,
and
in
hang
my
him.
time frame with ROTC, your first couple of weeks, it was particular days in the very beginning of the school year. If you was at ROTC, you would have to come in and you would get measured. You would get measured, and then they would go. It's like you would go in. They would give you your shirt, your coat, your pants, even the shoes.
And you didn't have to pay for it.
Oh, you pay for the fee through your activity fee for the school.
You had to pay the activity fee. You had to pay
You
the
paid the activity
uniform.
fee and
You
everything.
paid the
But
uniform
after
fee,
that,
which was
once you
extra.
got paid, they gave it to you. You literally have to go in and get fitted.
The only good thing about it was you didn't have to wear the uniform every day.
Right, that is correct.
You didn't have to.
You only had one uniform inspection day per week.
Yeah, and you didn't have, unless we wore it for inspection days. If we had events after school or in place of school, we had events where we were going as a class. You would wear your uniform. And then if we were doing parades, because I have a shoulder injury on this arm that I got, has gotten worse as I've gotten older. I, at one point, played the tenor drum in drum and bugle corps.
Wait, tenor drum.
You
That's
have the snare drum, you
yeah.
have the tenor, and then you have the bass drum. Tenor drums are worn are sideways in a harness that you
Hmm.
wear, and you beat them this way, just like you do with a bass drum. The tenor drum is between the snare and the bass drum.
Hmm. That's why I said it's like that's why I had to take back, because it's like the snare was harnessed and it was like
But
this.
it's
The
it's on.
tenor was like this, and then the bass drum is like.
Yeah. Um, we did not have enough proper harnesses for these drums.
Hmm.
And what he made me do was I had a strap. It connected in the hook on one side, went across my shoulders, and connected on the other side. That's not the proper harness.
It's like we got to make do, because why? You're strong. You're small, scrappy, and strong, and and you should be able to handle this.
Basically.
And luckily the tenor drum is not like the bass drum, because some of the bass drums would be bigger than you.
That's why he put me in a tenor drum, because the bass drum was too big and I couldn't walk with the bass drum.
I'm
and
just
you have
surprised that they
and
just didn't break, just didn't, break their stride and just go ahead and gave you a snare because the snare was the lightest one out of all of them.
snare took a level of drumming that I did not have skill for, because snare drums are the snare drums are what the tenor and the bass are bringing up the bass notes,
Hmm.
the counter rhythm and the bass notes. However, it's the snare drums that are giving you that basic rhythm, you know. And so, I mean, tenors, you're somewhat between the two, because yeah, you're picking up parts of the main rhythm, but you're not drumming as quickly
Right.
as you would with a snare drum.
Put it this
And
way: tenor drums are not doing the drum beat before before somebody gets hit by the firing squad.
yeah, you know,
That's 100% snare drum.
yeah. It was like that. You had to do it very fast, and I wasn't quite tight. I wasn't fast enough to quite do that. Um, one of the most famous snare drum pieces isn't a marching piece though, and I saw it performed by Jerry Lewis. Though he didn't, he was miming it. He didn't do the extra. There's a old song from the '50s, the typewriter song.
Mhm.
They actually, that song was recorded with a snare drummer whacking typewriter keys,
Mhm.
which is why it's so fast. And some typing teachers would try to see if they could get you to type that fast. It's like, yeah, I can type that fast, but it won't make any sense. Because just my brain does not move like that. It's a great piece, and I love the snare drum. I was not coordinated for the snare drum. The tenor drum was easy, especially because you have to know all of the music that you're playing. You have to know everybody's part, because you have to know when your part comes in, and you have to train yourself to listen, especially for the snares. Um, and there was some fancy drumming that we got to do. I think there were only what, two of us girls who played tenor, and then there were two of us girls who played tenor. She got the proper harness. I did not, because he liked her better than me. Um, and then
Blame the teacher. Blame the sergeant. So it's like sergeant doesn't like me. No,
you know,
I'm serious. There have been other kids in ROTC where I have heard that line before. Sergeants don't really like me.
and if he didn't like you, you were the one who always get yelled at. There could be six people doing the same thing, and you're the one they would yell at.
See,
You know,
I never experienced that because if they really liked you, they were the one that would yell at you first when you messing up.
no, this guy,
It's like, no, you're supposed to be the leader of this people. Why are you doing this?
that's okay. We used to call him Yogi Bear behind his back, because when he stood up, he looked like, the straight back and the big old belly with the little feet. It was like, and there he would. We had to march, and he insisted all us girls wear high heel shoes.
That's murder.
Yes, and it
The
was a
reason I say
great. It
that's
was a
murder because military rhythm, even for my time in the Air Force, they never made women wear high heels unless it was something formal.
if you're in your dress screens, you're working. If you're working in, say, Washington D.C., or you're working in some foreign office, yes, you are a clerk, and you're on what is it called again? You're on embassy duty. Yes, you depending on your job, yes, you have to wear your highest heel. They want you to look as attractive as possible. However, this guy decided, well, y'all like to wear them 3-inch heels. It's like, yeah, because we're not doing 3 to 4 mile force march. This was a parade that he decided we needed to be in.
And that's when you're forced to wear the Oxfords and you keep it pushing. You do not wear high heels in a actual long field march or an actual parade or tribute march. Those take way too long for somebody to be in heels for
So,
the amount of marching that you have to do. And it's
so,
not like one field you're marching miles.
and think of it. There are two of us little girls. We're in drum and bugle corps. We cannot fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
We have to march in time with everyone else because there's that whole thing in military. You got to look like one unit moving, and we got to play these damn big ass drums, and we have to play our cues correctly, know when they are, and know what the damn cues are. So we're doing that. Plus, we're having to march in 3-inch heels. I was so happy when I got to Amundsen and I went in and I said, yeah, I just did ROTC at my last school. And the guy said, we don't have ROTC here. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I was like, I don't know if I can take another year in March. I hated him so much. My feet were my shoulders felt like they were going to fall off. And then we couldn't just go home because we had to turn our instruments in.
Yeah. See, we had to turn our instruments in and we have to turn our uniforms in.
We didn't have to
At the
turn our
end of the
uniforms in because these were our uniforms. My mama was like, I buy and pay those for that uniform and I got to dry clean it.
That's the one thing that I hated was getting them dry cleaned. We had to
Yo,
pay for the dry cleaning of them and everything, but they gave it to us, when I went to high school.
but I had to, by the time we were done, I was in tears. And then it was like, oh, I don't have a car to take you all back to the school.
I'm sorry. I had to laugh because the reason why it's like it just brought up kind of like memories because I was part of the target team where we actually shot 22s.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like that just like a flashback. It's like what the sergeant is like, y'all better hope that my car doesn't break down because if it breaks down before this match gets underway, there'll be no way for you guys to get back home to the home school.
So we
You're
had
gonna
to
have you want to be
walk.
on you want to be on CTA. It's like
It was like, and he was like, we only have so much time to get back
mhm.
and put these because he was like, you're not taking you can't take those instruments home.
Right.
So it's like, great. That means we gotta those of us who didn't have cars, and I had to take the bus to get there. And so I was lucky. One of the guys had an old VW van,
Mhm.
and he was nice enough to let me and a girl take the van. I think we both gave him like our bus money, and we walked home from school after that.
Mhm.
And my feet were just killing me. And I
Of
wanted,
course, you want 3-inch heels. Do it. No.
and then he was like, unless you take your uniform off, you can't take your shoes off. You cannot be seen walking down the street in your uniform in low heels. Because I had a pair of sneakers because I didn't put I put
No,
my
you can't do you
uniform
can't
on,
do the sneakers. But that's
you
the
know.
reason why they also supposed to give you Oxfords. But then again, during ROTC, I can't speak for back then, but I know during my time, they never forced the girls to wear heels. They forced them to wear the Oxfords.
We did you could wear heels. And they could be and yeah, you think, well, 2-inch, 2.5-inch heels are okay. But when you've got all this weight in front of you and you're trying to hold the position of attention and you're marching and like I do, you can't be going forward. You have to lean back to have that appearance of being straight, especially when you've got all this extra weight and everything. And then you're trying to focus on, and it's like, focus on your posture, make sure that you don't look slouchy. It's like, okay, I got to focus on my my posture. And still, I know I need to go to bed. and then and I still got to remember how to play this music.
Right. The only thing that was worse is the one thing that I had to do here in the actual military is that I was guide arm for a bit. But I'm glad that I was never allowed to do it in longer parades.
I
Can
like
you
the
imagine, present arms and you have to hold that thing for it's like, nope, you can't let it drop, you can't let it slack. It's like
nope. I tried out for the what is it? The gun team
the
because we
precision
had
drill team.
the precision drill. I just wasn't fast.
My wrist
I
is
almost
still
broke my
intact.
hand. I almost broke my hand because there's that part you have that was okay. Then you put the barrel downward. You're flipping the stock back. You're gonna flip it back around, and then you go this way. Then you go that way. I got this. I got this. I got this. Wham!
No,
Do
see
that again.
that part. No, that part. As long as you doing two hands, I was fine. Spinning it with one hand.
Oh no.
It's like, and this is the thing. It's like the way that I was trained. It's like, well, the way that you work is with a broom. First get the broomstick. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. I've broomstick, no problem. They give you the practice rifle. It's like, okay, I have a little bit of difficulty. They give you the real one. It's like it just doesn't flip just the way. And then they're up here. It's like, okay, when I was actually doing it somewhat decent, it's like do it faster. It's like if I do it faster, I'm about to mess up my wrist, about to hit my wrist, and it's not going to be good.
We
Faster,
didn't
faster.
we didn't drill with actual firearms. You
We
had the
did.
white carved wood ones that they used to give
See,
us.
that was practice for us. The white carve was with practice. When we went on competition, we had the real ones.
That was the change they made because back in the
But
day,
that's gone now. That's gone now. They can't.
yeah.
They don't even do it anymore.
And what they used to do to make sure that these things, because these are carved and they just machine them out and they're not always carved properly, each one. So what they would do is they would at the back on the bottom of the stock, they would put a metal sheet on it. They rivet a metal sheet because you also had to do there were certain drills where you had to tamp it down and get that specific sound, and you couldn't get that sound from the top of the wood. Boom. So you had to be able to do it. Like I said, I could get this.
Present ours. You kick it back. You bring it forward. You wrap it around. Hit your shoulder.
Or
present arm. You flip it off, spin it, catch it. And the thing about it, when you present it like this, you cannot let go of it until they take possession of it. And if they knock it out, if they knock it out your hands, you're hitting the ground.
Yeah, because you got to hold it like this, and he's got to look, and then hand it over. You can't let go until it's in their hands. You have to see their hands wrap around it, and then you go whoop, and you're at the position of attention. And then the minute you realize it's coming at you, boom, and you got it, and it's got to be a snap. Because every time
that's the thing that got a lot of people caught up because like present ours, they expect you let go, they throw it right back at you real quick. Like, okay, they're like, oh, you like if you're not ready, it's like peek.
And you would just kind of look.
What's wrong with you, soldier? It's like, don't you know how hourly inspection is supposed to go?
It's like that was the one thing though when I went to boot camp. Because I'd already done a little rifle drill training. It made it, when we finally got our rifles, it made it a little easier for me because I understood the drill training enough so that when it was time to get ready to go on the rifle range, and you have to know how to hold your rifle and present it and make sure that it's locked. I already knew some of that. And I had recruiters who were like, okay, we're going to teach you about these regulations. And you're going to do this and do this and this, because you're going to be the first women since World War II to get up on the rifle range and then go do
all this stuff here.
Because we were the first women since World War II, women Marines, to go do field training, because that's where you get your initial combat training.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the first, and which meant we had like all sorts of news crews. So you're climbing through the mud. I still have a scar on the inside of my wrist where I got cut by a piece of barbed wire. And you're like, I'm dying, but I can't look like I'm dying because there's this idiot standing over me with a camera. And even though I want to turn around and whack him, I just got to crawl through the mud. And
You
people
see,
ask me,
you was
is
the
that
little personification and rub a little dirt on it and keep on going at that point.
like,
Because you got
okay.
that camera right there, like, I can't show them that I'm hurt.
And it's like, is she supposed to be bleeding? I'm fine. I'm fine. There's a lot of, it's okay. I'm not dying. I'm not dead yet. I had the words, I'm not dead. I still use the words, I'm not dead yet.
Well,
At some point in boot camp, that became almost every other word you said was like you would get hit by something,
I'm
you
not dead yet.
caught on. Yep. It was like, I'm not dead yet. Good. And you know what not dead yet means? I keep fighting till I'm dead, ma'am? Yes.
See, I guess I probably would have had fun in Marine boot camp compared to Air Force.
I don't know.
Even though Air Base ground defense was fun.
When we were in boot camp, we were on Parris Island, which is where at that time all the women Marines got trained. And along with the women Marines training, they had officers training school. So we had OTS, and then they had a couple of platoons of men who got trained, because you were either at Parris Island or you got to go to San Diego and become what they used to call the Hollywood Marines. Over at Camp Pendleton, where they would call you the Hollywood Marines.
The ones that were movie stars.
Yes. and our chow hall, they a couple of times we would sit down to eat at the same time a male platoon was sitting down. And the way they did those guys, because the way that we did boot camp is we had like 4 drill instructors. At least 3 were with us at some part of the day, because our head drill instructor wasn't always there, because Sergeant Monty was doing meetings and stuff and whatnot, that we didn't realize that, they and sometimes they're just briefing them on things that may affect us. And one time, this poor guy, he had to go to sick bay for I forgot what it was, but he had to go to sick bay, and his platoon had already eaten. And you can't not let a Marine eat simply for something that isn't his fault.
Well, if you're in sick bay, he had. Well, I forgot what they call it in Air Force, but usually, if you up under strict doctor's orders, those doctor's orders supersede any other order as far as formation and all the other protocols are concerned.
Sometimes you end up with an appointment that maybe your platoon is in a class, but instead of you being able to attend that class, you have to go, you've been told you have to get your hair cut. And this was the only time they had time for you to get your hair cut. So, and you would get the chit, so you could show that I've got this appointment today at the doctor's to do this, or I've got to go to the dentist, or I've got to go get my hair cut. You told me to go get in fact, that happened to me. My drill instructor, when my bunkie got sick and couldn't, because I had this girl, we weren't bunkies, but her bunk was across from mine. And every morning we would get up, because we both had long hair. I would braid and pin her hair. She braid and pin mine. So our hair was always in regulation. She got sick. There's some people are susceptible. Sand flea bites affect you differently, and half her face just swelled up. So they had to take her by ambulance to sick bay. And so, and I was having trouble keeping my hair up. And one day my drill instructor just walked up and she goes, "You will get your hair cut, Hagen, won't you?" And it's like, "Yes, ma'am." It's like, I'm just gonna, and there were no spots at the beauty parlor, so I had to go to the barber
Mm-hmm.
to get my hair cut. But yes, yes. Anyway, this poor guy, I don't know what had happened, but he was not able to eat with his platoon. And his drill instructor said, well, because they can't, if it's something beyond your power, they can't not allow you to eat. You have that right. They
Mm-hmm.
can't force you not to eat. And so he said, well, it's the WM's time to go eat. You're going to have to go eat with the WMs. And it was so funny because we were going in, and one of his drill instructors, one of his DIs had to go with him because you can't just walk around
Mm-hmm.
the base. This man stood off to the side and watched this poor boy. We're
Yeah, because
in
they made
line.
sure that he did not fraternize or do nothing. You just there to eat. That's your mission. Eat,
Yeah.
say
But the
nothing,
thing
get
is,
back out.
we had not been in close proximity to men for about a month and a half. And all of a sudden, here's this man standing 10 feet behind us. And when we move, he moved just like that.
No pun intended. No pun intended, people.
We would move a little forward and he would move forward. He kept this distance, but we're like, yeah. And eventually, Sergeant Monty and Sergeant Myers are like, what is wrong with you people? Like, ma'am, there is a man back here. There's a man back here, ma'am. This man ain't supposed to be within. This man is not supposed to be within this proximity of us. And this guy had to be like 6 something.
Mm-hmm.
These 4 women, the tallest of which I think was 5'4", descended on this boy, and they all outranked him. And we're trying to like sneak looks back there because you're supposed to have eyes.
No, you don't. You don't look back because if they start seeing that you looking, that's your ass.
Oh my goodness! So they go off this boy, and I'm like, oh my goodness, is he gonna survive? They're gonna kill him. They're gonna eat him alive. They're gonna slice him up and bring him to our table, and we're gonna be forced to eat his meat. And they come up, and we're in the line. We've been called forward to get our food. And they're like, okay, freebie, before you go. This young man has been separated from his unit. He had an appointment. He just got out. He has to eat. Do not hurt this man's feelings. Treat him with the respect a fellow Marine would get. And it's like, yes, ma'am. He had to sit we're sitting at our tables. He had to sit at the end of the table. And it's like, ma'am, and we asked permission. It's like, can we speak to him? He looks, because he was red. We figured he must have been red from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, because his DIs are standing there sniggering at him off to the side.
Yeah, because they make it sorry that he follows their rules. He's not supposed to fraternize with you guys. He's not supposed to do it. He's just there to eat.
And they're like, no, it's like, can we at least ask his name? He's sitting at our table. It's just, we're just talking and stuff. It's like, ma'am, it is and we talked loud enough so these guys could hear us. Because
you're about to get this dude in some serious trouble.
No, because it's like, ma'am, this is a fellow Marine.
Your DIs are going to have different rules for you guys than his.
Can we at least, and we ask permission loud and clear. May we at least address our fellow Marine? He is sitting here. He does not have any of his fellow soldiers. We are his fellow soldiers. His platoon is not with him. It just does not seem right that he should have to sit here separate from us, and be all alone. And they sat there for a few quick seconds. then Sergeant Monty got up and said something to whoever the senior DI was there, and she came back and said, "Speak loud enough so we can be heard, and keep it decent." So we're
Right.
like,
Again,
yeah,
he is. That's why I say it's like your guy's protocol is different from what he was told in his situation. He
well,
is
see,
literally told not. As I say,
this was a
unless you have been in that situation as a male, you are specifically told certain things by
but
your
well,
DI to do.
no, because also where we went for where the chow hall
Hmm.
was male barracks. We had to go through.
Hmm.
The DIs would yell out defamatory things at us. We would be coming in, whoa, look at the ass of that one. Woo, look at them tits. Just horrific things. Okay. And we couldn't say anything back because they outranked us.
Hmm.
One girl, you could just see the tears. There are a couple of us, you could just see the tears coming out of their eyes because these guys are shouting, woo, fresh meat. Yeah, I got to get me some. I mean, just horrific things talking about what they would do to us. And our DIs would have to, our DI, Sergeant Monty, I think about 2 weeks in, she had about as much as she could take. And the head of Marine of the island, operations on the island, was a woman at that time.
Oh yeah, they about to jump down there, jump down those guys' throats here because of the reason being is there's only one or two reasons why they would ever do that. One, to toughen you guys up, but after a while they would stop. They would have stopped.
No,
But if it continued on, that is harassment, and they have to address the harassment.
because they were not our drill, and they were also not our drill instructors. So, and it was very sexual.
And that's where that gray area comes in. And
No,
I'm
it was
glad that
not
they
great
stopped it
because
the way that they
they were
did.
describing the assault in very distinct terms.
Hmm.
So,
And I could see that happening. But I guess Air Force is a little bit different because if that happened in the Air Force and it happened beyond, after somebody warned them to stop, that's that person's ass. They're gone.
and
They're gone. They're getting demoted. They're going to get something really really deep and cut to them
they
done. Because
after about two
again,
weeks they shut up because
DIs
they
are supposed to
realized
respect other DIs, soldiers. Period.
after about 2 weeks they shut up. But you could, there's a way when somebody is used to mistreating people
Hmm.
and someone above them says, you can keep your mouth open and I can put a foot down. So they're shutting up not because they want to, but because they know that you have somebody watching out for you who is ranked way above who is in charge of him. So he has to shut up. And so, they would try to continue it, but make it in ways that were less direct, which was just as exhausting for some of the girls. They shut up about 2 months in completely because when we went for our field training, there was a male platoon who went out when we went out. They all came back with what they used to call scabies or whatnot. It was a skin disease you get because you're not clean, you're not keeping your bivouac area clean. It's like you get
Okay. Yeah.
it's from sand. It's not sand fleas. It's another type of ticks or whatnot.
Right.
They have what was it? 2/3 of their group got infected. Our group, no infection whatsoever. Why? Because we cleaned our bivouac, we scrubbed our latrine. We didn't have a choice. We kept that place spotless.
Because
You
that was
thought
that was your dedicated spot that nobody else can go into. Therefore, it goes to show you who's really doing their job and who wasn't.
and yeah, and so we got back, and what they did was because they also they put stricters on us. We were the first women Marines since World War II to do any sort of combat training. So to do field training, what they decided was, okay, you have to be here at this time. Our DIs were like, they took that as, okay, they want us there by 7. We want to be there by 6. That means we have to get out. We have to be up and ready to get out the door by 3:30, 03:30.
Oh, 3:30. Good grief. I thought they would be like, okay, you have to be ready out the door by 0500, which
No,
means
no,
that you
no.
probably wake up.
Oh,
You
for
probably have to wake
100.
up anywhere about 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Oh, for 100, we were packed and humping.
Wow.
And we made it
So
there.
you didn't get really didn't get no sleep, because most of those days in training would end sometime around what, 10, 11.
We got there at 06:30. Our first class was at 0700. So we only had 30 minutes. There was no time to eat. All we had time to do was take off our gear, put it in order, get it. We had to, get information, take off our gear, leave it, mark it, and then get to our first class. So we didn't get breakfast until what? Our first class was 0700. We didn't get breakfast until what? 09:30.
Yeah, that's about right. And even that's late for breakfast in military terms.
Well, our first class was what is it? Hand grenades and other pyrotechnics, your guide to having fun on the battlefield.
The name to make you say, it's like, hey, don't get blown up by the grenade. It's
No,
actually
and what he did was, we were half tired, and those of us who, I was one of those idiots that they loved and hated me because I took notes every class.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was of that group that we took notes and we would compare our notes, and the rest of the girls would come and get our notes. And that's how we all passed things, because there were those of us who were sitting there taking notes. And it was so funny. We were, those of us who were the note takers were sitting there taking our notes. He takes out it's we did not know it was a dummy grenade.
Yeah, he would throw it and be like, okay, defend everybody else. Somebody jump on top of it.
No. He casually walks up to the front of the class, pulls the pin, drops the grenade, goes over and starts talking. And we're like, sir. He's just talking. We're like, sir, raising our hands, trying to get his attention. He's just talking. All of a sudden, we hear 30-something women you thought that thing had gone off and we'd have died.
Shrapnel everywhere.
Oh my goodness, you'd have thought we all thought we were dead. Our brains told us this thing just went off and you're dead now. And he was, when he stopped laughing, he finally said, you're not dead, right? And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Then we went on with the class, and he was like, this was my way of like, this is your first time. Most of you are from the city. I'm just trying to break the ice. It's like giving us heart attacks. Yes, sir. Got it. Ice broken, sir. Believe us, ice broken.
All y'all were having fits and everything here. We used to have DIs that would use like pine cones or whatever else to be like a dummy grenade and be throwing it up in tents and everything. No. And it's like, somebody better cover this up or everybody's dead.
No, we didn't.
And you never know when it happens. It's just like out of nowhere, you hear tink, 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 tink. It's like, did anybody see? It's like, did anybody hear that? This, that, and the other. It's like, everybody out the tent. What? No. It's like, what? It's like, sir, what happened? Everybody is dead. Because everybody's dead, nobody found where the attack came from. Therefore, you guys owe me 30. I was like,
we didn't have. I think they couldn't do things like that to us because we had so many film crews.
So
around
that was
us.
part of our training to, because we went out into the field, and when we go out to the field, we was learning battlefield tactics to convert into air-based ground defense. See, that's how they got us to
Oh, okay. See,
from our basic training to air-based ground defense, because it's like it was only like a few months time frame, because they have to do your regular basic and air-based ground defense right then and right there.
see, what we did was because we had to go out in the field.
Mhm,
You had classes, and then you had practical training.
mhm,
And I was upset because the day we actually got to the first day after that class, a little later in the day, they were teaching us what they said was the proper posture for throwing grenades. And it was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to take this grenade. I'm going to put it in your paw. Don't know why they said paw. We didn't have hands. We had paws because we were animals. He says, I'm going to put it in your little paw, because he had me and I'm short. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm going to put it in your paw. It's like, yes, sir, it's in my paw. You're going to take it in your paw. It's like, yes, sir, it's in my paw. He goes, you're going to pull the pin, and then and he had this whole thing like you might have been Johnny Unitas trying to throw a
That's what I'm about to say. He's
football.
going I was like, hold on, I got it.
And he was like, count and then throw. And I'm like, okay. So I'm counting, and it's like, your posture's not quite there. Hey, good. And I'm like, sir, well, I can hold this until it explodes. He goes, throw it. I couldn't even remember where it went off, and there was this little
I
hook.
just know the end of this story is like, can I do it again?
I wanted to, and he said no. And then the next day, I was on because I had to I was on duty at our bivouac, because so many of us have to guard the bivouac. And so I got start guarding our bivouac the day they were throwing live grenades. And I was so upset because they were within just a couple of miles of us. So we could hear the grenades going off. It's like, and I go, she just look at me like, A, humans aren't supposed to hit those decibels, even in opera. And B, no. She goes, that's part of the problem. You want to throw that grenade. You want. I'm afraid of you right now. You want it. It's like, can you boom, boom? I want to throw a grenade. I want to destroy things. And she's like, okay, if we were in the battlefield, I would send you out and let you throw grenades at everybody coming our direction. However, this boot camp, you're just a little too happy at the idea of destruction. I was so happy when I got to finally throw the grenade, and because it was like, and it's like, oh, whoa, and then boom, it's like,
see,
and I
your experience was a little bit different from mine, because I used to always I got teased in
was
gun
exactly
in gun training. Always got teased. You want to know why?
what.
By that time I had my Army marksman badge for 22 caliber rifles.
Oh,
I
okay.
almost qualified as a sharpshooter with M16. But with a
I
9mm Beretta, I failed. And everybody was looking at me like, how did you fail with a 9mm Beretta? It's like, it's a flimsy gun. I want something of girth where I could be like, pop, 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 pop. This ear is
handguns.
like, no, no, this, that's not. They
It,
used to make so much fun of me, because they were up there like, how are you just so deadly with
you're too
rifles,
street
but a
thug.
handgun did you in?
I There were three of us who consistently hit, and I was running classes back then. But once they explained, because I was like, "What's the formula for this?" He was like, "What?" I said, "What's the formula?" He goes, "Oh, you estimate your height versus the height of your target plus the wind velocity, the direction and wind velocity. If you can keep that straight in your head, you can hit that target pretty much every time." I hit my target out of like 7 shots. 4 shots were in the bullseye area. I should have been set. And my drill instructor said, okay, I have bad news. She said, first of all, you did really well. And if you were a man, they'd be sending you off to sniper school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to sniper school. My dad was in Green Berets, and I'm going to sniper school. They said that you're a woman.
Yep, that's a
And
pro.
women,
That was the downfall there.
they weren't taking women for sniper school. She said glasses or not, the fact that you could hit that damn thing. Once they explained it to you, you could hit it. She said you should be going to sniper school. It's like, but I can't. And I was, I'm gonna go to sniper school. She goes, you can't go to sniper school because you're a woman. It's like, but I can kill things. I can shoot and kill things. I can make people go boom. Why can't I go to sniper school? Because you're a woman. It's like,
because of the day and age of gender biasness here. Just like the
and
whole thing, just like the whole teasing that I had. It's like,
well, also
you
at
were
that
3
point,
points. You were 3 points away from being a M16 sharpshooter, which equates to 1 miss at 500 yards.
You should have been going to sniper
If
school.
I would have made my last shot at 500 yards, they would have marked me as a sharpshooter with M16.
What they decided, because at least 4 or 5 of us got expert. You get marksman, you get expert, and then you get sharpshooter. They brought us all down to marksman because they didn't want to have to admit that there were women who were shooting
that shoot better. I know that.
And and the sharpshooter, which was to me was really pissy. But then what I didn't know and didn't learn until later is this was at the time because I was in Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why for the longest time they didn't let women do embassy duty. Guess what was going on while I was in the Corps?
I have no idea.
The Iran hostage situation.
Oh.
Okay. So they immediately, what women who you could only do, it got to wear, because one of the things that's why we had to be trained on how to do our makeup. That's why they spent a week of boot camp training us about what they gave us etiquette classes. We had to know what fork went with what and everything. And I'm like, and I actually went to my drill instructor. And it's like, ma'am, this is all nice and all everything, but unless I'm not on chow hall duty, so unless I'm called to prepare a dinner for somebody,
you have to think about it this way. They was training you to be almost like James Bond. They wanted you to be in intelligence.
Well, no, all the women got it. It was a class
that's part of that, but that's part of that training, though. But that's a part of that training. They were giving you
have to know it. And if you're on and what she said was if you go to embassy duty, especially in DC, and she named, various places, DC, Germany, France, England, mainland Japan, if you're assigned to embassy duty, you have to know all these things. You have to be able to do your hair, your makeup, and you have to, you have to go through all these things. You have to know how to keep your, how to take your weapon and put it in your handbag, because that's why Marine Corps handbags look the way they do, because there's a part of there when you slip, you have to slip your
they don't. It's like the military handbag does not look like a regular purse by no means. It's small, but you have actual weaponry up in there.
Yes, and you have and there are regulations for which shoulder it's on, and how you have it, and what you're allowed to, what you are and are not allowed to have in it. It's all very regulated. And by the time I made it to Okinawa, that's when all that shit went down. And it was like, in the few women that were on embassy duty, suddenly got pulled out. And it was I think it was another 10 years before they let women go back to embassy duty. And then for a long time, it was only stateside. And then eventually, I think, Britain um, and certain European countries. And that's because, women, they like to have the women on embassy duty, because if you have a situation where somebody's coming to seek asylum, they're more comfortable having to talk to a woman, especially if you can speak the language.
Mhm.
So it's a whole, you can't just go, because I actually said, I'd like to apply for embassy duty. And it was like, what languages do you speak? I said, well, I took German and Spanish. It's like, how well can you speak and write in those languages? Because you cannot go overseas duty on something like embassy duty or in
You have
certain
to you have to
offices,
be fluent in just about everything that you're going to be expected to know over there.
which is how we got in trouble, because I was a company clerk when I was stationed in Okinawa.
Mhm.
And you spend a lot of time hearing Japanese, and we started talking to each other in Japanese. So, you'd answer the phone, mushy mushy. And the one time a clerk answered the phone, mushy mushy, and it was the general on the other end. It was like, you will
Well,
not.
like what it's like, they're up there like, yeah, whose head about to get ready to roll for this?
So to have the lieutenant come over and go, okay, I have an announcement to make. Company clerks, those of you who do phone duty, you will not speak Japanese while on the phone in your work area. You want to if you get a personal call somewhere and you want to speak Japanese, go ahead. But while you are in your work area answering the phone in an official capacity, you will speak in English. You will not say, hi, dozo bozo. You will not say, mushy mushy man. You will not say, talk song, which is big.
Mhm.
It was like it would just be kind of
Well, let's just say that lieutenant got balled out to the point where he just like,
well, it
I
wasn't
don't
just,
know who to bring this to, but we just going to cover the basics.
well, the major of our company, of our battalion, the major who was in charge of our battalion, got his ass chewed out, and then he chewed everybody else's asses out. And then our lieutenants of our different little divisions came and made that, because it was something, like I said, it's something that you get up and you're dealing with the mamazans, you're out in the street, and so you start picking up words. Squishy is little, Tokson is big, and mushy mushy is how you say hello.
So, right?
Ohio. The first time a mama san, I saw her and I said, "Oh, good morning." She said, "Ohio," and I was like, "No, I'm not from Cincinnati."
No, that's not what that means.
I didn't know anything about Japanese, and a friend of mine said, "I thought you said you like anime," and it's like that. All the Japanese cartoons I see are in English. So I didn't know anything. So, I had to have other clerks come and say, oh, Ohio is good morning. And so you had to learn good morning, good afternoon, good night, because
Mhm.
sometimes you would sometimes get the Japanese police would sometimes show up, because in Okinawa, when you come onto the base, there are two sets of guards. The first set is the Japanese police, or the JPs as we call them.
Right.
They're right at the front of the gate. A few feet back are the military police, who you have to go through two checkpoints. You have to go first past the Japanese police and then past the MPs. And there are and all around the base where you get in and out, that we have those.
Mhm.
you know. And we used to joke about the fish head song. Fish heads, really holy fish heads,
Right.
because if they before you are allowed out on the street, before you're assigned your duty station, you have to do 2 weeks of briefing, or debriefing. No, it's briefing. 2 weeks. The first week is with the lawyers. They're always, and we don't have Marines don't have lawyers. We're
We
Department
have
of the
Jack.
Navy. Yeah, we have jagoffs. Yeah, I said it. And your first week is sitting there listening to the jacks telling you about all the ways in which you could get in trouble and all the ways in which, if you're not careful, the Yakuza could kill you and there's nothing we can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah,
what?
because you would disappear. You would just disappear. There's nothing. We're not going to
Well,
investigate it because it's
also,
not our land.
and they would also say if you rent a car, which you can do, and go off base or just walk around, if you break a law, just because you're American military does not mean you can get away with breaking the law. The Japanese, if you break the law, the Japanese have the right to come onto base and arrest you. And because you're taken or you get busted fighting, because we used to have this red light district.
Oh, that in
Japanese
I
red
learned a
light
little bit about
districts.
Japanese, but we got to wrap this up because we're 2 hours 30 minutes in.
Oh shoot, yeah. I'm not eating because I can only keep so much down.
Right.
I can.
I get that and everything, but I know of the whole thing about fighting and the whole thing about certain pubs and clubs and everything, that there's certain limits because of rules and regulations, and people can get arrested just because you overcrowd a pub or a bar.
I am in the it's bad because the bars are great. They would have these Filipino musicians
Mhm.
and they can imitate just about anybody. You know, you go in one club and there's a group of guys and and for some reason it was the 80s, but they were all dressed like it was the early 70s.
Mhm.
They were, and they were trying out for a bit part on the Brady Bunch or something. Some bell bottom shoes and platform shoes and be hilarious. But
And they all think that they're Johnny Bravo and whatnot.
but they're sitting there singing, and you could close your eyes and go, that sounds just like fill in the
Such
blank.
such.
Um, but and we would occasionally would go, but the women I knew, we were all told, if you can, don't go to those bars. Why? Because the Japanese hookers have a specific type of knife. And oh no. These things they whip them out, and by the time the blade is out, you're already cut up 6 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, yeah, avoid those places if you can. There are clubs that are safe on bases. And so I and another friend hung out with a group of guys. We used to go to the Air Force Base and beat up on the sailors.
You beat up on your brethren.
They weren't my brother. They were fucking
As far
sailors.
as far as as far as branches is concerned, yeah, they're your brethren.
They were Navy. Okay. They were
That's
Eagles.
just like people who try to justify when we were still Army Air Corps that regular Army soldiers were not our brethren. It's like, yes, they were. We were Army Air
We
Corps for
wanted
quite some time
we
for a
wanted a
reason, and
place
then
to
we got our
sit,
own
and
branch.
we wanted to sit down and have drinks, and they were sitting at our table. It wasn't our table, but they were sitting at the table, and we wanted it. And it was like, hey, good, go get us that table. It's like, okay. And I'd go. I'd have my high heels on and my little short, tight skirt. Smile. Hey guys, how you doing? Oh, hi. Who are you? I'm Elaine. Oh, hi, Elaine. You want to join us? It's like, come here, baby. Get some guy to lean in. Bam. That goes.
And then when the other guys realized what had happened, that's when the rest of your crew came up. It's like, okay, we know what this is.
We had gotten such a reputation. The minute they saw me walk in, guys would just start getting up. It's like, oh, she's here. It's going, we can get up now or we can shed blood. How do you want to do this? And so long as we kept it in the bar, we were okay.
Well, you couldn't roust about in the bar either because of Japanese rules. But as long as it's
No,
like
but we
something
were
that was
on.
quick and over with, and just like a show, just like it was just a flex real quick, it was okay.
Yeah, and we were on base.
Yeah,
So it was only when you got in trouble off base with that. If you
that
got in
see,
trouble on base, the JPs couldn't get you.
right.
And They also told us girls, be careful because you don't know who might be and who might not be yakuza.
Hmm.
And we were like, well, I don't speak enough Japanese. It's like, no, they're looking for girls to work. And the guy said, yeah, we just had a girl who was spending the next 10 years of her life in the Japanese prison because, she made $50,000. Yes. And sent it back home. And now her family may lose their house because the Japanese government wants that 50,000. And of course she broke the law. So, the military, it's like, great. Yeah, they would tell us
That is so messed up. So she goes out one night and is like, "Hey, you want to make some quick money?" She was like, "Sure."
no,
Oh,
she kept doing it.
$50,000.
She was blonde and blue-eyed, and there are certain,
Well,
there are
again,
certain
blind and blue-eyed and everything in their eyes may be quote unquote Americanized beautiful, but they also consider it delinquent as well. So it
well,
kind of fit into their mode of Yakuza. So they just only have to be nice to her just enough to be like, hey, she's going to go for the greed and espionage and all this other stuff that is really exciting for her. And she's not going to be none the wiser.
yeah, so she spent, and the thing is they also told us if you get busted by the JPs and you don't report for duty, even though you're in jail, you call the lawyer, you are considered AWOL.
Yep.
So when you get through serving time with them, you got to come and serve time with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my goodness, that's worse. And then the second week was learning about all the different types of syphilis you could get that would mean you would never go home again.
I'm still laughing. It's like she never thought about getting $50,000 that quickly. And think
Well,
that it's like it was nothing
it
wrong.
was 6 months.
I said at home. It's good as gold.
It took her
No, it
6
made you
months.
look even more guilty than anything because you just laundered $50,000 for it. It's
It,
laundered. It
it
wasn't
took her
legal.
6 months to acquire it, but yeah, it was like, yeah, so ladies, they might be cute little guys and they may smile and say nice things to you, but we
She
just would
thought she
rather you not
had her a nice
compromise.
little Japanese boyfriend that was taking real good care of her. Lo and behold, boom.
Yeah,
Whoa, you got caught up. You got caught up in a Rico. In a Rico.
so yeah, our first 2 weeks in Okinawa was all the different ways you can go to jail. And
Oh
here
my
are the
goodness.
3 different ways you can end up dead. It's like, and then here are the things that can. Here are the things we actually spent the day going through all the different things in Japanese nature that could kill us. Everything from
So she
the
didn't
how.
get killed. She didn't get killed. I was just trying to figure out what in the world happened that in the back of your mind you couldn't just say something's not right about this.
It was she was the way it was explained to us. She was from a small town. She had never been overseas before. This was her first duty station following boot camp. You know, so it happens. Just like the guys who we would get these guys, they'd never been, they went from their little town or their little neighborhood. They went through boot camp and then they get their first duty station. And the next thing you know, they're overseas because they needed so many people. I got overseas because our gunny was told that we needed so many people to go overseas. And he actually came out and said, he came out of his office and said, hey, good. The next bastard walks his ass up in here is going to Okinawa whether he wants to or not. And a lieutenant walked in. And I said, congratulations, Lieutenant. You're going to Okinawa whether you like it.
That was an oops moment for you.
No, that was an oops for the gunnery sergeant. Because he was like, no. It's like, you said the first person that walks in.
Yep.
He's first person walked in. I was just following orders. It's like, hold on, sir. I'll get your paper back. now. It goes, okay. You know how to do this. Put your paper packet together.
Right. Exactly. So that's how you got him off the hook. You got him off the hook with that lieutenant by doing that.
It's like, yep, see, we sent her instead.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, yeah, it's 9:40.
Yep.
You know
Time for
where to
you to
find
get
me.
your rest and everything. So let's.
Yes, I have not. I need to get to bed. Okay.
All right.
Here's okie dokie. Hey, sweetie. Anyway, thank you guys for being with us, whether you watch us live, whether you catch us later. We appreciate you. We love you. I'm Elaine Haygood, lenscaponline.com. My page, my channel here is Elaine Haygood. 36 different videos on everything from, doing artwork to just I'm crazy and I need to get put away. Anyway, y'all have a good one. Hopefully I will be better. I won't be mentally better, but I'll be physically better by next week. Y'all take care. Know we love you. We appreciate you. Please.
All right. And that brings us to what we always have to say. Our show is sponsored by Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics. If you need a cover for your comic book, regular novel, or graphic novel, you want to hit up Jeffrey Hayes. Why? Because you want an award-winning artist working on your cover that gets people to your table to say, hey, I'm interested in this book because I like the cover. And if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe this video here.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You seen the goods there? You most likely want that type of graphics on your covers here. So hit up Jeffrey Hayes at plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as I'm concerned, I'll be back here Saturday. Yeah, it is. It will be the Saturday before I successfully cross over the threshold for orbiting the Earth. Well, not orbiting the Earth, but circumferencing the sun at least for another year. So it is what it is. But we got brand new comic books for the week here. We got new stuff that might be going on, that might be available at the next show, or if I decide to list them on the company website, it would be there. We got new production stuff to talk about. We're going to probably have another topic ready to talk about on this upcoming Saturday, because I know we've been having a lot of short shows here, but there's going to be something. I have a sneaky suspicion there might be something that's going to be worthwhile talking about for this upcoming Saturday. Until then, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands. Never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Catch you right here next Thursday on Comic Book Spectrum. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye.